Traditional strategies, they don't work anymore.
AI is making decisions faster than we can understand them.
Everyone's selling answers. Nobody has the truth.
Disruption isn't coming. It's already here.
Who's willing to cut through the bullshit?
Outwired.
Episode of Outwired. My name is Brian Searle with Outwired. Can I say that? Insider Perks, Modern Campground, and Scott Barr is here, as always, from Can Consulting, and probably 30 other things that he just hasn't started a company for yet.
But I have the URLs purchased for him.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah, I have that too.
I have so many URLs. It's
I remember. I think we watched the show before. Randy Hendrickson. That's what always comes to mind when I think of that. He gave me access to his GoDaddy account one time because he wanted to sell some of the domains he'd never used, and there was like 365 URL in there. I'm like, I mean, it's a good idea. Like at one point, like it was a really good idea, and then like Google just started like not paying attention to the domain names as much for SEO. But and Randy's like been here for a long time, right? He'll tell you he's 173 years old or whatever he tells you. So he's been collecting them. But yeah,
I don't have that many. I have quite a few, but not even close to that.
I have some. I got to go check. Like because years ago I reserved a bunch of ones like digitalcampground.com, space campground, all kinds of stuff, right? So when we go to space, like I'll have a domain for spacecampground.com, and then everybody will want to buy it from me. That's what I think.
Forward looking. That's all you got to do is sell one of those, and then you can retire.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I'm tired of working. I don't like it anymore. I'm just kidding. Okay, so what's on our desk? What's come across your desk this week?
You know what has come across is there's just a couple things I think and it seems to be picking up momentum is the whole idea of like how we're measuring things. You know, we obviously on this show we talk a lot about AI and how that's changing the narrative in a lot of respects and for a lot of tasks.
Yeah.
And for me, it's really kind of measurement. It's not kind of measurement. It is measurement, and it is how we measure things and how we interpret that. Those results.
By we, you mean the professionals in the industry and not like crazy weirdos like me.
Well, you can throw yourself in there if you want. The whole idea here is, what are we measuring and why, and how does that work? How does it fit in? And so, as we've talked about before on the show, like for me, I've developed some different measurement tools that I feel we've already tested. We've been using them in some projects with clients. We have a major one we're doing right now on brand risk assessments. That's gonna, we're gonna do a bunch of benchmarking and so on with that and how it fits into their strategies. The emotional stuff, I have like 3 people already who want to integrate this into their work. And then Brian, last week, you and I had a conversation that sparked something else for me.
Okay.
And it was our conversation about life stages versus the ages and generations. And
where you helped me with that Gen Z report and kind of reviewing it before it went out. And
so exactly. And afterwards, I was talking to Justin. Justin's my son, to anyone who doesn't know. And he and I we were having this conversation on this topic. And again, between the two conversations, to cut to the chase, what I did is I put together a series of questions that will establish life stage. that it's designed to segment people based on life stage versus chronological age or generation. You will still gather that stuff, but in my mind, this is the stuff that's going to replace a lot of the traditional demographics. I know that's a bold statement, but I believe it.
No, I'm with you, because just like we talked about, like you did the final thing, the look through the Gen Z, but then as I'm talking to this about people, I'm like, this is also not only the lifestyle, like the nearby people that you were talking about, right? The millennials. This is also Gen A. This is also Black folks camp too. This is also like anybody who had a phone in their head as a childhood and whoever will, right?
Yep.
So it's an existential crisis.
So yeah. So it's like I got this battery of questions, and we're about to test it. We haven't done the testing yet. That needs to happen. But I'm convinced it's gonna pan out, and it's something that we're gonna integrate in most of our work moving forward. It's like if someone
don't let confirmation bias creep in. It might not work.
We'll see. It will work.
With you. God damn it, it will. I will make it work.
I'll shoehorn it in regardless. No, the testing will be in. It's to me, it's like asking the question: does asking some basic questions on demographics and segmenting people that way, does it work? This is essentially the same thing, only what we want to do is measure it against one, chronological age, and two, and honestly it's the does it make sense test. At the end of the day, does everybody end up in like two of these segments, something like that? If that happens, then we'll know it didn't really work. So because obviously that's of no use. So that's where the testing comes in. We're going to test it before we launch it on anyone else into the world, because we want to make sure that it does do as we hope it will in our exploratory approach to the testing. So yeah,
is it a hypothesis first, or is it a theory first? I always get them mixed up. Which comes first in scientific discovery? It's a theory, and then it's a hypothesis?
Then it's a hypothesis, and you test your hypothesis.
Right, gotcha. All right. So you have a theory now.
Yep.
Okay.
And my hypothesis is that the life stages will generally fit into some basic age categories, but there will be groups that are kind of wandering out there in different sections, and those are going to pop up, and that's what's going to be one of the more important outcomes of this. That's what we're testing. We'll see. I could be totally wrong, and maybe everything just lines up with a person's age. And if it does, okay, well, all for naught. Not really, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's what you do is you make adjustments along with the way, because I truly feel like this is the future of how we should be measuring this stuff. And anyone interested, I did write a blog on this about 5 years ago, and when we were first having some of these conversations. So it's something that's been there for a while. And to be honest, I don't know why I never thought of actually developing a battery of tests questions to test.
Well, you can't do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do everything, but like you have to do everything over time, right? You can't do everything at once.
You have to be ready for it. When we're ready, it's like the emotional stuff. I've noticed that stuff is popping up a lot more in conversations within my industry at market research. A lot more now. People are talking about it a lot more. And yeah, to me, that's the big thing for me this week. I think other than that, we're in the season where we're going to start seeing a lot of different reports on 2025 are going to start popping up, including ours, which from the KOA annual report, which will be coming out in probably early March, I think, at this point. And we'll see. There's some others. One came out today, and there will be others. So just keep an eye on those. Read through them with a critical eye. ask questions. And if anyone wants to ask me questions about any of these that come out, please feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it.
What do you think 2025 was like?
It's essentially my take on it, without giving away anything in the report.
Yeah. Don't give away anything in KOA's report, right? Just your general, Scott, from all your research you've done.
But if I even took away my knowledge of what's in the data set, I would say that 2025 was a hold steady year.
Okay.
It seemed like a lot of people treaded water this last year, and that's, a lot of that's anecdotal stuff. But I mean, when you talk to enough people, and you, Brian, have talked to a lot of people too, going out to all the shows and weekly conversations with a variety of people, you get a general idea of what is going on out there. And I think I mentioned to you in the text earlier about doesn't make sense. When you look at results, do they make sense to you? That is the first stage of really evaluating anything. Is it needs to pass.
Well, what if wait? What if we put an Outwired report out, and it says things that you're like, that doesn't. I think we just walked ourselves into a corner. But continue.
Well, there's a difference between does it make sense and could it happen? Could it happen?
Okay, gotcha. So like more like, does it make sense from what you know of things that have already happened? That's much easier to judge than forward-thinking predictions.
Right. And the other is, what evidence do you use to base that on? Is it your gut feeling, or are there other things? For example, in the KOA report that will be coming out, there's a lot of research we've already done that will bolster our findings, that research that we've done throughout the year, and some predictive stuff that if anyone goes back to some of the quarterly reports that KOA put out this year, you will see some of this in there. And then when you see the results, it will make sense to you. I know that sounds a little, I don't know, cryptic, but it's not intended to be. It's just, if you look at that stuff and think about what would you say is going to happen if you looked at those earlier results, or if you looked at some of the stuff we've done on the show and some of the reports we've put out between you and I, Brian. It's like, look at all that stuff and then think about where you think things are at and where you think they're headed. And that is the first step in the process, because if something doesn't really make sense and it doesn't fit with all the evidence that you've seen, then you should probably think about it a little bit more. Think, and maybe question it a little bit. Maybe look at some of the other supporting measurements that are out there. And I think this is important as it's that idea when people talk about research in general, and especially in academics, they'll ask, was it peer reviewed? And peer reviewed just simply means that you submit your research to a bunch of people who are experts in the field, and they review it and tell you whether or not you're full of shit. And that's kind of what it's all about, is what does your work, how does it stand up to a review, to a critical review?
Yeah. Which is often much easier in hindsight, like we were talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because I think there's nobody that can predict the future that would probably agree completely with another person. Correct.
And it's there's so many factors, so much chaos that can impact anything in any of this stuff. I mean, going into 2025, if you looked at what I wrote last year, looking ahead to 2025, I was pretty wrong overall. Looking ahead. And I think the reason I was wrong is
wait, what did you predict? I want to know. I'm sure I knew back then, but I'm old.
I predicted that 2025 we would see better growth in some segments, and that is something that if you just went out and asked campground owners and people in general, it didn't really happen.
Well, I think I predicted that it was going to go worse than it was. It was not great, but I think I predicted it was going to go worse.
Yeah. So, and we don't know sometimes is, for example, from my perspective, I didn't know how much of a factor the international travel would have on us, which is something that I think you posted in the promo for the show today, is that cross-border travel from Canada, but
Yeah, talk
also
about that
European.
if you want, or you can wait, like whatever. But if you have another,
I mean, I guess maybe now is as good a time as any to talk about it. What do you think?
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, the whole idea that we saw a large drop in Canadian tourism this year. Some people thought that it might increase as the year wore on. It did not. It got worse, and it's going into this year. It's getting even worse.
Don't worry, it's going to come back. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, that was my answer from 6 days ago before he called our new prime minister governor too.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Those things, and this, in my view, is going to stick. It's going to stick for a while. This isn't something that's just going to change overnight, where all of a sudden people are going to start flooding back into the U.S. again. The European travelers didn't come. The stats that we were able to find is that we lost close to $9 billion in tourism revenue this year.
Do we have any stats on Australia? Because I was reading a bunch of articles that said Australians are changing their behavior long term too.
Yes, and that's that. All those things are once people start changing their travel habits. I mean, in the stats that I sent over to you, some of those came from the KOA report we did this late fall, early winter, that's on the snowbird season, and looking at where are Canadians going, and they're going to like the Caribbean and Mexico. A lot of them, that's where they're going. The snowbirds are still going to snowbird, but now they're going to find these other places to go to. And what happens too, and we've talked about this on the show before, in one season, a small business, they take a 10-20% hit in business that can put them out of business. Yeah. And this is an issue that really impacted 2025, and it's going to impact us in 2026 still, unless we figure out how to. And I don't think the tactic, and this is just me editorializing, that the tactic isn't to try to market to Canadians and Europeans to get them to come here. The tactic is to bolster your business within the boundaries of the U.S. or Canada. And as the folks in Canada will look at your internals and figure out how to get more people from your regions to show up. We see, air travel this year was a barrier too. So it's those people within driving distance that want to show up to your parks, that people who are shortening their distance traveled. That's where your business is going to come from, and that's where the focus, in my opinion, should and needs to be moving forward if you're going to continue to build your business.
Here's something that I think you can help me with a large discussion about. I think we should have a discussion about this. There are many campground owners who are watching the show and who watch Fireside Chats who understand the breadth of your knowledge and your research and what, like, both of us talk about and all the things that we've talked about in Fireside Chats, right? And who are willing to pivot their business, who have adjusted it because of that. They've added glamping units, or they've adapted to the market, or they're changing their marketing, or their advertising, like we just talked about, or whatever. But there is a significant number of people in this industry, and I don't want to put a percentage on it because I don't feel like I want to insult people, but I think it's a big percentage of people that just don't want to change. They refuse to change. And I'm not talking about like AI to not AI. I'm talking about not recognizing that a lot of the fucking boomers are dying. Like, you only have you only have a certain amount of runway here. So it's like those things, right? Or what you're talking about. How do we, like, I've talked to so many owners over the last year in 2025. We don't give a fuck about Canadian traffic. Canadian traffic doesn't impact us. More Americans will just come to us. That's great for Americans. The same thing is happening with the Gen Z report, right? How do we convince the people that, like, to have a future sustainable business, it might be a good idea to, I don't know, get the people in here from Gen Z and Gen A and everybody else and millennials and what Earl's preaching at Black Folks Camp 2, which is now, I think what is it now? It's all Unity folks.
Yeah.
New branding. Yeah. So like way more than just Black folks, right? Which it's always been. I don't know if he encompasses Gen Z, but certainly that falls into the same category there. So how do we reach those people and say, like, is it just those people just need to go out of business? Or I feel like all the data is here, topic by topic, not saying that everything needs to be actionable for every park. But how do we reach those people and say, like, just the car camping with females is a thing, like electric vehicle charging, like camper vans instead of 30-foot Class A's? How do we get that message out there and convince people that you need to act today?
Yeah, it is the ability to be forward thinking. You have to. You have to be able to see the future a little bit.
But it's part of the problem, and I don't want to interrupt you. I'll promise I'll shut up after this. But it's part of the problem that the narrative, and again, I'm intentionally not naming specific entities, we'll call them that to be even more broad, right? Is the problem that the narrative in the industry continues to be everything's going to be fine. Like, how do you, like, it's one thing to not change from an owner's perspective and to be stubborn, not just campgrounds, from any people just don't like change, right? But it's another thing to say, like, okay, well, maybe I should consider changing, and then you have a narrative from certain entities in industries that are either ours or directly related to ours that say all of it's fine, or in reports maybe, or other areas, right? And that then makes you as an owner say, like, well, I consider changing, but like everybody says I don't need to, except for the Outwired crazy people.
I think there's within the industry itself, our industry overall tends to be pretty much resistant to rapid change, and I see that across all the sectors in outdoor hospitality. Some more than others, some less, but in general, it's an industry that has fed itself on tradition, things like tradition, the old days, the how things used to be and how I want them to be. So that nostalgia feeds that mindset of everything's gonna be fine, we're gonna be okay, we don't need to change anything. When the reality is that if people look at their bottom lines, where are they? And if you don't have a feeder program in place, it's got, like, again, let's look at Canada for a second. Canada wasn't, for some people, wasn't a big part of the revenue, but it was part of it.
Yep.
And it helped. It was another leg that helped prop up their business. And why would you just cut that leg off? That you don't want to do that. In working with KOA many years ago, I remember being at some meetings and having this conversation where some campground owners didn't want to have any tent sites because they didn't get much profit from those. Mm-hmm. But the organization said, this is our feeder program. We still need tent sites because these tent campers are going to eventually be, cabin campers and RVers in the future. We still need to bring them into our brand, into our campgrounds, even though they aren't that as profitable as some of the other groups of campers. It's the same thing when you think, looking at Gen Z and bringing them along. Maybe it's not, where you want to be right now, but if you don't do it, who's going to be there in the future? As you mentioned, the boomers are getting old. It's They're
The boomers are old.
they're aging out.
There's nothing wrong with being old, to be clear. Like we're not
Right.
I'm not insulting it. I'm just saying they are old by the traditional definition of the word.
Right. So there, I mean, when people get older, their views change on money, everything. It's like it's a big deal when people retire, and if you don't have people coming in to replace them, now you really have a problem. Who's going to be there? You know, one day you're going to wake up and your campground's empty because no young person ever wanted to set foot there because you didn't bother with some of these things. And it sounds negative when I say it like that, but it's true. It's like, and as a business, what you have to do is monitor that and see what's going on, see where you're at. Are you actively trying to bring new folks in? Are you actively going after some of these segments and bringing them along? Because if you don't have that feeder program, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. And you can only afford to cut off so many legs.
Yeah, well, that's what I think the interesting part is I think I almost think the campground industry has had 12 legs for a while. And I think there are a not small percentage of people who have been losing legs. And maybe they grew maybe they had 8 legs since 1990. And then they grew 4 more over COVID. And then,
Right? Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. But so I think they've been losing legs, but because they can still stand up, they haven't felt like they needed to change. But I think those legs are getting really close to the tipping point right now.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. And that's the conversation everyone should be having with themselves. If they're not, you're just leaving your head in the sand. It's you're definitely putting yourself at risk, and that's no one wants to do that. Because I know, I've talked to enough campground owners. A lot of these folks, their businesses are it's their pride and joy, and for many they see it as their legacy. And my advice is don't let your legacy wither. It's make sure it's strong and you're built for the long term, because without that it's just gonna it's not gonna be what you envisioned when you first started out.
Well, the long term is different today than it was 5 years ago.
Right. The long term is now like 3 years.
Sorry, I had a mouthful of whiskey. Yes. But what I mean is the vision of what it meant to be prepared for long-term survival is radically different today than it was 5 years ago.
Right.
So you may have been prepared and checked all your boxes 5 years ago, but the world just reset on you about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And we're just seeing, and again, that's the AI, right? Just to not, but the world's going to be different. So what it means to survive long term and have that legacy, if that is what you are after, which not everybody is or should be, but if that's your thing, then you need to, I think, reconsider, because you may end up leaving something to your children that you thought was great, but could be a burden if you're not as forward thinking as you should be right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying each case-by-case campground is different. You need to look at this. And maybe you'll come away and be like, I've looked at it and I still believe it's fine. And maybe you're right. Maybe you are fine. But if you're not looking at it through a lens of 2026, you're not looking at it through the right lens.
Yeah. And every campground, as you said, is different. There's they have different locations, different vibe, a whole different thing. I mean, I can think of a couple campgrounds near where I live, and they survive because people have been coming there for generations. Living in New England, that's how it works, and their families continue to go there for that same experience, and that's okay. That's great, but that's the exception, not the rule. That kind of location and that kind of approach is not, if you're playing the percentages, that's not it. But they have it. They
Well,
they have it.
we frequently talk about our bubbles, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in the Gen Z report that we released. There are absolutely Gen Z people out there who love going camping already because they were raised by people who loved going camping and took them camping, right? But they're the exception. They're not the rule. And so if you are now, again, if you're caught in a bubble, which we all are caught in our own bubbles, we've talked about this before, right?
Oh,
Of
absolutely.
some form or fashion. Some people's are bigger than others and some people are smaller. But we're all caught in bubbles. So if you're then caught in a bubble and you say that I'm fine because all the Gen Z kids that I know love to go camping and then I'm fine, you're in a bubble. And maybe you'll still be fine if those generational things continue to trickle down, like Scott was saying, in New England and Maine, but maybe not.
I know. I was, as you were saying that about the Gen Z bubble, I was thinking about this earlier in the fall. I did a talk with a group of college students, and near the end of it, I asked this group of about 25 students how many had ever been camping. Not one, not one in the room had ever been camping. And to me, that I was shocked because I know Gen Zers go camping and I know that they still have those experiences, but I didn't expect no one in that room to say that they had never gone camping. It's and it really was an eye opener for me when that happened. It's like, okay, this is something. It's something real. But I was in my own bubble. I just figured if you had asked me before the class, I would have guessed probably half the kids in there had gone camping.
Yep.
How wrong was I? Well, very wrong, obviously. So yeah, it's a matter of kind of pushing yourself outside that bubble a little bit, looking at the future, kind of really taking that look ahead. I think without it, it's build scenarios, build different options that things that could happen. I mean, we talked about this on the show one time last year about the campground of the future stuff. Yep. And how we had actually, there was like KOA had an entire exhibit at a conference on campground of the future. We did a bunch of research on it, and it's interesting to see how many things from that are now in play currently. But when we think, and I was saying this because of something you said earlier, the whole idea of the campground of the future, when you look at it now, how different that look is from what it was just a few years ago and what it will look like.
Yeah, but we did. I remember that show. We did talk about like a lot of it was still correct, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But a lot of it is going to change. Like we were talking about on MC Fireside Chats too earlier, and it was just briefly, although we did have an AI episode today, so it was a little bit more in depth about the stuff we talk about on this show. Is that the definition of hospitality, I think, changes. There are so many of us in this industry in a bubble, and again, just because you're in a bubble, like we all are, doesn't mean your bubble is wrong. It means that you're in a bubble. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So in a bubble is not an insult when I say that. But there are so many people in this industry who are in a bubble that just believe that a human must be part of the camping experience, no matter what. And a lot of people are right. But also, there's a significant number of people who just want to go out in the fucking woods and not talk to you. They do. They don't want to pull their vehicle up to their campsite. They actually want to, use the muscle in their arm and pull a wagon with their stuff or hike it in on a backpack. And there's no reason that you can't cater to both of those audiences at your campground. You have different sections of your park, loops, neighborhoods, areas, seasonal versus short-term, whatever. You know how to segment already. Most of you do. So the question is not that you should. You should look at this and say, is it possible that I get guests to my campground that don't want to fucking talk to me? And the answer is almost always going to be yes. Now the proportion of that is going to be radically different, right?
Absolutely.
But it's almost always going to be yes at some capacity.
Sure. Right.
and-
There are absolutely people out there. And in some respects, this idea of those kind of social interactions and such, while it's real for a lot of people and for a lot of campgrounds, there are people, and it's probably a bigger segment than most people would realize, really just take to the outdoors and even at a campground, and they want to keep to themselves. They're not into the whole social thing. They want to enjoy it themselves. It's not like they hate people necessarily, but yeah,
I hate some people probably. I hate some.
Again, there's probably more people than you would realize who like that kind of experience.
Yeah, and so you look at them and you say, like, how can I make this a better experience for you? I mean, I hear the industry narrative I hear all the time is like, we're so much better than hotels because you can talk to your neighbor. Fuck off. I don't want to talk to my neighbor all the time. In fact, most of the time, I personally don't want to talk to my neighbor. Not because my neighbor's not a good person or I wouldn't have good conversations with him, but just because I don't want to. Right? And that's
Sure.
Maybe that's my personality on that day, or maybe that's my personality period, or maybe it's because I grew up as Gen Z and I'm more isolated. But that's not always the selling point that you think it is. Sometimes it is, and it is definitely a differentiator between us and hotels, but it's not always the positive differentiator. Sometimes it is, but not always. Hear what I'm saying? I feel like I'm going to get a bunch of emails after this. Like, Brian, how dare you say that camping is not part of the whatever? That's not part of the experience. I'm just saying there's different types of people out there. And so hospitality can evolve. Like, I was citing the movie on MC Farside Chats. I cited the movie AI with Haley Joel Osment or whatever. That he used to be a cute kid, and now I don't know, he's probably an ugly adult. Sorry, Haley. But have you ever noticed that's true? Most of the child stars don't grow up to be as pretty as they were when they were kids.
They're cute little kids, and they become like, yeah.
But the opposite is true. Like the ugly guys in high school tend to, I mean, except me, I stayed ugly my whole life. But yeah, they tend to grow. It's just different, right? Anyway, off topic. But so the AI movie with Haley Joel Osment or whatever. Did you saw that? Steven Spielberg?
Yep.
Okay, so you remember his best friend? He walked around with a teddy bear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like, this is a future that could quickly happen. Like, we're in, again, we've talked about Gen Z, but we're in a very lonely state where people are more connected than ever, but they're, and I've heard this before, but Curtis brought it up on a show earlier from our journey too, and it reminded me of it. We're in a scenario where we are more connected than we ever have been, but we're more disconnected in real life than we ever have been too. We're very lonely, but that means that the way people are solving that loneliness is, and I'm not agreeing with this, one of the ways they're solving that loneliness is AI. They're talking to AI chatbots. They're having, in some cases, AI girlfriends. They're having AI buddies. It is not a stretch to go hiking with your AI teddy bear in 5 years. Right? And to I don't want my human interaction, but I absolutely will be like, look at that butterfly to my AI teddy bear, and the AI teddy bear, that's cool. The species is blah, 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 blah. And that's what I'll want to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, like I have very little patience for small talk. I know that I need to do it. Right? I know I need to do it, and I do it, but I don't like small talk. Get to the point. I also can't sit around people who talk about like what was on TV last night. It doesn't mean they're wrong or it's boring. It's just not what I would prefer to talk about, right? And so everybody has their own different quirks. I'm saying mine out loud, but everybody's is different. And so you need to understand that everybody who comes to your campsite is coming from a different set of learned experiences, things they've been through throughout their life. They're lonely, they're not lonely, they like people, they don't like people, they're happy, they're sad, they're somewhere in the middle, they're introvert versus extrovert. And if you really want to succeed as a campground, you've got to identify the people and offer the ability for them to have the type of service that they want at your property. Otherwise, you're severely limiting your audience, just like you do if you don't let car campers in.
Correct.
And cutting off another leg.
It's kind of what Earl from Black Folks Camp 2 says, that it's all about the invite. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about this, because say you had that person who arrives solo, and maybe they're just hanging out at their campsite. You can't force, and you shouldn't try to force any kind of socialization on them, but you can still invite them, let them make the choice, because I think that's an important part of it. There are people who would like that, and others who don't. It's just not their vibe. It's not their thing. Like you were saying, I don't want the small talk, but there are people who arrive and maybe they're a little like they don't feel comfortable maybe just going up, and so say you're having a group campfire that night, invite them. Just say, hey, having a group campfire tonight. That's it. And you leave it at that.
You read the full Gen Z report, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you see the suggestion there about the lamps?
The lamps. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember every detail from it. But,
okay. There's a really good suggestion and so for those of you who aren't familiar, by the way, Insider Perks released a Gen Z camping research white paper out on Friday. ModernCampground.com has a link. Woodall's published it. There's a link there. Go to our website. You can easily find it in the top menu under research. Free report. You can download it, look at it. That's what we're talking about right now. In that suggestion is ways to get Gen Z more involved and comfortable with talking to other people when they're camping. And one of the things they suggest is going out to buy a lantern and getting it like shaded green. And then if you display a green lantern and turn it on at your site, you want to meet the other people during your stay. And if you turn it off, then you don't want to be bothered.
It's just like leaving the porch light on Halloween.
It's a really great idea, though. And it's not just for Gen Z.
Cool. And it's very active. You're letting that person decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, very similar. It's like, you're just kind of letting them make the decision. And they turn it on and they're inviting people in. And that, again, they get to make the choice. And that's what's important. I mean, there are people who go to campgrounds just because they feel safer around having other people around. It doesn't mean they want you all up in their grill. They want, you know what I mean? Like I was just talking to a woman last week about this, and she does a lot of solo camping. And she says that every time she goes somewhere, she likes to just hang out. She's like you, Brian. She just wants to sit there, hang out. She's not into the whole, she just wants to sit by the campfire, have a beer, make some food, and that's it. And but she says all these guys are always coming up to her and thinking that she's lonely and needs their attention. And she's like, no, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. It's like, I just want to sit here by myself and enjoy this.
Yeah.
But she does go to campgrounds because she feels safer there.
Yeah, I think that's like, if I ever owned a campground or anybody wants to let me experiment on their campground, I would put posts at the end of every driveway with a permanent green lantern. And I would market the heck out of that stuff. I mean, just imagine the ability for you to put on like those, what was the app? There's a bunch of them out there, but like Bumble is also a dating app, but it also has a friend side, right? I think I read about that. And there's a few other like apps where you get together with hiking partners, people who want to go hiking and don't have anybody else to go hiking with and stuff like that, right? Like that stuff, like imagine marketing your campground on those apps and saying like, this is the way you can meet strangers if you want to, which if you're marketing on the app, then most people do, right? We've got an activity. We've coordinated different hikes to the neighborhoods, or not to the neighborhoods, but hikes to nearby hills and trails near us. We've coordinated shopping trips. Like we're not that we're doing all this stuff, but we have lists of itineraries and things ready to go and all that kind of stuff for group outings. All you got to do is come here and just turn on your green lantern and you'll meet people who want to do these things with you.
Yeah, it's a great idea. You give people the choice. Again, forced socialization is not the way to do it. You can't strong arm people into participating.
That's what we do with activities too. Like, let's be honest. While we're continuing to eviscerate all the campground models of thinking, right? That's what we do with activities, right? Like if you and again, activities are great. They're super important. Most people enjoy activities like ice cream socials and stuff like that, right? But there are also people who don't, who probably feel excluded more so that you have an activity that they can't participate in and have nothing for them than if you didn't have any activities at all. So I don't know. I'm not saying cancel the ice cream social. I'm saying that maybe there's an opportunity for you to curate an additional activity that doesn't require a staff member sitting there that would serve those people, right?
Yep.
Turn your light on and we'll invite you to the activity. Turn your light off and somebody will deliver something to your door or whatever, right? That says, here's an idea of interesting things that you might want to do in the area or whatever. Solo stuff.
Yeah, it has potential. And what you're doing by creating this is that you're creating a much more welcoming atmosphere for that person. By giving them those choices and by by welcoming them into your place, whether they want to engage with other people or not, they're going to feel welcome there. And that whole atmosphere will permeate the entire campground. That will be it will just travel throughout, and that's how people will view that. And now what you have is what people always talk about, atmosphere, and how important it is for them. This is what you're doing. You're creating that positive, engaging atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it's hoping with that look ahead to come full circle now. You've just planned, you're now looking at creating, adding a leg or.
Yeah, you just attached a leg for yourself.
Yep. There it is. Boom. Our work here is done.
What else you got? You had some more data points that were interesting, didn't you?
What did I have?
I don't know. Like, what are you asking me for? You're the smart guy here. I'm just the podcast host.
I think what I talked about the most was the idea that it was a lot about the whole what's happening with tourism and what the traffic, the border states kind of getting hit a little bit harder, 20-30% in some cases. The only
is there any data on the amount of businesses that actually closed down or is it not?
We don't have that yet. That's not available just yet.
Okay.
I did look. I'm glad you brought that up. I did try to find that, and it's not available just yet, but it will be soon. I think by the end of this first quarter, we should have a better idea that I think the snowbird traffic to Florida is down up to 20%. That's a big deal. We'll be able to talk more about that when you and I are in Florida for their conference.
That's what I was going to ask you. I talked to Bobby today, by the way. That's what I was going to ask you. That 20% is not just Canadian traffic. That's 20% down for all.
Yep. Yeah, that's overall. Yep.
It's so interesting to me. I haven't heard that narrative being talked about publicly yet.
I don't think they want to talk about it, to be honest.
No, of course they don't want to talk about it. Who would want to talk about it?
Right. And who knows, maybe it will pick up due to this rotten weather, this big storm.
Yeah, but you're at the end of it, right? Like when did you gather that statistical data, or did you just come across it?
We gathered a lot. Well, no, that was the snowbird traffic that's down 20% is very recent. That came from Florida Department of Tourism. So
okay, so yeah, like we're already end of January. It's not coming back this year.
No, it's not. They might get a bump over spring break, but that's
not really snowbirds, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's people. We're all happy to have the people. Just again, I guess we're narrowly defining people as snowbirds, but which we talked about like not doing that anymore. So
yeah, I think some of the other numbers that we pulled out of that were why aren't people coming here, like especially Europeans and Canadians, and it's this idea 30% have concerns over safety, and the political climate here. Like we always say, we're not going to talk politics, but there it is. It's a real figure, 30%.
Well, it needs to be a real figure, right? And like, I mean, for like, again, we're not going to stick on politics for a while. But like, I've had conversations with lots of Canadians who feel the same way. And again, I'm not saying it's a majority of Canadians by any stretch. I don't have any data that says that, right? But again, in my bubble, right, that is a concern. And you talk to like, I talk to my mom and dad who live down there, or my grandma, and they just laugh it off, right? Okay, but like, and it's certainly not as bad as the media portrays it to be from a safety standpoint, right? We all know that.
Correct.
The media is hype. We all know it's also micro versus macro in certain areas.
Yep.
But what people see externally when they are planning trips or thinking about planning trips to, we're just talking about the United States, but anyway, right? They see the media narrative. That's all they see. And the media narrative right now, let's be bluntly honest, is that people just get shot for walking down the fucking street with a phone.
Yep. And it's that sense of, yeah, is it going to happen to me? Probably not. But do I want to be a part of that environment? And it's kind of like what we've talked about a lot in the past, is that feeling, that stress that's associated with it. And
it's another leg up too, right? You finish in a second, but it's another leg up. It's important to realize that like, you're not going to 8 Mile in Detroit and getting potentially shot by a gang member. Like, there are law enforcement officers assassinating people now. And yeah, I know there's going to be lots of people who hate me and ignore, don't disagree with my position, whatever. Look at the video. I'm not going to tolerate that. We'll move on from politics. Finish your thought.
No, the idea behind all of this is that it's not like everyone is staying away. It's not like everyone is afraid to cross the border.
Correct.
But 24% of the people who said they're not coming to the U.S. did say that they had concerns in crossing the border. And, and the 30% I just mentioned, mentioned safety in the political environment. And part of that is the negativity that people feel overall. If you're Canadian and people here are talking about, annexing Canada, and insulting your government and your country, it's like they don't want to spend their dollars there. And people do that at a micro level. If there's a business locally that someone that says or does something dumb, then they're not going to support them with their dollars there either. So it's one of those things where people, and again, it's not everyone, but all these things add up. All these percentages add up. And again, if you ask any business if they're willing to give up, ask them 10%. You're willing to give up 10% of your business this year? What impact would that have on you? That's a big impact. So again, all these things add up to be real figures, real numbers, and have real impacts on.
Do you have any early data on whether the percentage of Canadians who say they're willing to come to the United States is up over last year at this time? It must be at this time, because we're only 8 days into what would be the Trump administration last year. So it must be up at this time, but indicative of maybe summer travel.
Right. It hadn't impacted things. Last year, optimism was relatively high. That's a really good question. It's something I can look up, and we can talk about it next week maybe. But I can actually look that figure up, because we did ask it early in the year before things started to change.
But even after they started to change, it would be interesting to measure, like in March of last year versus, and I know we're not there yet, but March of 2026 when we get there, to see like, is it down further over once we had the negative sentiment for the reasons that these people have decided not to come.
Right. Did it sink even lower? I get that. And we have that. We will be able to do that. So, and it's on
That'll be interesting to me, and whether it's continued or whether it rebounded a little bit, because up until he called our existing prime minister governor again, it had somewhat softened a little bit. So
right? Yeah, those, yeah, those, it's not helpful. The idea that our industry, I think, and again, I guess I will get a little political here, even though we say we won't. But
It's fine. We can get. I'll get political before you to give you cover. I'll say like I'm really super proud of Carney for going to Davos and giving the speech he did.
I thought his speech was great.
Yeah,
I thought it was. He stood up for his country, and I'm sure his positives went up quite a bit in the country. Though Alberta is like going to secede, right? So anyway, no, I get off track a little bit there. But anyway, the what happens to us in our industry, it's like if we were in manufacturing, we'd have a different conversation for different reasons. But we're in hospitality. We're in outdoor hospitality. Our industry is being affected by these decisions and by these policies that are being put out there. It's real. It's not hyperbole. It's not biased. It's just real. And anyone who thinks it isn't is kidding themselves. So when the Europeans are staying away, organizations that I know that for example, KOA always had a large contingent of international people, the younger people who would come over to this country and spend a month here. And a lot of times they'd use KOAs because they could go from KOA to KOA and travel the entire country that way. And it was a decent part of their business, especially in the summertime. So again, if a little bit of that business gets eroded, it affects you.
I'm sure it'll be fine this year after we've tried to take over Denmark's territory. Correct.
And once we got Greenland, wrapped up, everything will be cool. But like in the future, in the near future,
we just lost 1,000 viewers. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's fine. No, go ahead, please.
But I'm looking at the World Cup right now.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens with attendance there.
So being in hospitality, this is a big deal. And if you're in one of those cities that's a host, you could be really impacted by this stuff. Instead of it being a big economic boom for you, it may be a bust. It's like, instead of counting on this big surge in guests, maybe not. If you're a restaurant, maybe it's not. Anyway, these things have real consequences, and it's a disservice to our industry in the hospitality to have to go through this stuff that, in my mind, we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to go through all this. A lot of it is very, very preventable. And I'll stop there with the political stuff. But it's
fine. We're not taking sides here as much as the last few minutes of this conversation may seem like we are. I'm not speaking for you, Scott. I like things that Trump has done. I dislike things that Trump has done. This is one of the things I dislike. So as much as we're talking about politics, don't take this as a full comprehensive view of what we believe. And that's not meant to be wishy-washy. That's meant to be factual. For me, anyway, right? I'm not speaking for you.
And, the whole idea here is just, everybody make your own decisions, figure out what you have going on, but understand as an industry, it would be the same thing in talking about manufacturing jobs. If we worked in manufacturing, again, we would have an entire conversation, and maybe we'd be like, this is going to help us. We're actually really looking forward to it, and everything's great. So maybe we're again, we're just. I think we as people who work within this industry need to be defenders of our industry. And for example, I go to the RVs Move America Week down in Washington, D.C. every year. And there, what it is people from the industry go and, first there's a lot of presentations and discussions and sessions, but then there's advocacy days and where people go to visit with the politicians and advocate for the industry. And so it doesn't matter what party that person is across the table from you. If you're advocating for your industry, you need to talk to that person and you need to have that conversation. And again, it doesn't matter who they are. You're there as an advocate, and that's, from my perspective, that's what I'm doing. I'm advocating for our industry.
All right, where do we want to go from here? Do we want to go into AI news? Do we have more data to talk about?
I think that's good on the data for now. We've kind of.
You know what we should talk about? We should talk about real quick. We should talk about consumer confidence and housing numbers.
Oh, the consumer confidence, yeah, the lowest since 2014.
What does that mean in principle, though, for the people who don't follow the economic news?
What it means, and to apply it to our industry, is that it impacts how much money people are going to spend on leisure travel, on RVs, on discretionary spending. It's discretionary spending will be impacted by that because people aren't feeling good about the economy. They aren't feeling good about their economic situation. They don't necessarily cut back on travel, but they might. They'll maybe stay fewer days. They may stay at a location that costs less. They may not eat out as often. That is because they're feeling the pinch. And it's, again, it's a measurement that is apart from actual hard figures like unemployment and inflation and all those figures, because it's measuring the attitude of the consumer, which impacts whether or not they spend. And it impacts whether or not people will spend more than the actual cost of like gasoline or the cost of food.
And psychology is important, right?
It's incredible.
Psychology is critical. Like I don't think you've had time to read the Outwired report fully that we want to release. There's a draft in ClickUp for you that I sent, I think, a couple days ago. Anyway, I think one of the stats in there was the psychology impact of like 7% unemployment versus 10, just the double digits.
Yep.
Even if it is local, 10%.
Yeah,
right?
I did see that. I did read that part. Yeah.
But talk about how psychology is so important is what I wanted to just get at by saying that.
No, it's true. It's like in pricing, it's kind of like why something costs $19.99 versus $20. It's like you cross that threshold, and it creates this kind of emotional barrier with the person, and they're like it impacts their behavior and whether or not they buy, and that's where we are. It's low right now, and a lot of factors contribute to consumer confidence.
But I think what my key takeaway is that like you need to be studying your local economy to see what's happening there. Are businesses expanding? Are they closing? Are they hiring? Are they firing? Are they slow? Are they busy? Because I think the macroeconomics, especially as we've just talked about the fact that people are staying closer to home with your data, Scott,
Yep.
is even more important than ever to understand that this is what could cause those local people to not come, even though I'm closer. Is psychologically maybe unemployment hits 10% somewhere, but it's still 6 or 7 overall in the nation. But that could cause my business to be dramatically impacted, right?
Right, and exactly. And whether or not people know someone who's been laid off or can't get a job, those that they personally
16,000 more today from Amazon. Continue though.
Yep, Nike is going to have big layoffs too. I saw that earlier this week. So yeah.
Sorry, not to distract you, but psychology.
But even though those aren't local, the local stuff is in that report. Mentions that's more important to the psychology of the individual and their spending and so on. But those big things do erode away a bit at consumer confidence when they hear about major layoffs at these big companies where they see 5-figure layoffs. It gnaws away at them a little bit too. So all those things are important, and how we frame it, it becomes really important as an industry. Again, I always like to go back to when, during the pandemic, when everybody thought that the campgrounds were completely full, and they were during the pandemic, but immediately after they weren't. But everybody still thought they were. And again, if people think they are, and it impacts the industry. And that's why we saw places where visitation was down because people thought they couldn't get a site there anymore. It's the same thing with the economy and spending. If what they hear is that things are bad, their confidence is going to go down, even if it doesn't hit them directly in the pocketbook.
Speaking of, do we have any data? And go ahead, finish your thought before I completely change your mind on data.
No, that was it. That was pretty much it.
Do we have any data on national parks and what that ended up like, and what it will be in 2026?
I don't have any on that yet, but thanks for reminding me. I have to look that up. The only thing I saw recently was that I did see an article that Yosemite was like anarchy, that people were trashing the place.
But that was during the shutdown mostly, right?
No, it's happening right now still.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's unfortunate.
It's because the staffing was cut back so much that they don't have the backcountry folks that.
Is the NVS slated to be impacted by the fact that you guys in America still can't get along and might shut down partial government on Saturday? Or has that been funded?
No, it'll be impacted.
Okay, I can't remember what departments. I was reading only certain ones.
Yeah, so I mean they've already been cut in many respects, but yeah, I don't know what the visitation numbers are like. Maybe they're up, but no one knows because so many people just went there because it's like a jungle. It's just a free flow.
There's nobody there to count.
Right. So maybe we don't even know.
But do the visitation numbers translate into nearby camping, right?
They typically do. Yep. If the overflow always is, if you're like a private campground or a state park campground that's near a national park, you usually have really good business because of overflow. Because the national parks fill up first. People want to stay in the park first. But when they can't get that site, the first thing they do is look for.
But that somewhat changed, didn't it? I mean, I know it did at Moab, or at least certain locations last year.
It did. Because we're in a little bit of a different era. But yeah. So we'll have to wait and see what the data say for 2025 in the national parks. I haven't seen anything just yet.
Okay. It'd be interesting to see. All right, are we switching to AI then? Is that what we're doing?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, so I've got this new thing that I started publishing on LinkedIn that we're going to try to pull some of this into. And then I want to do something different if we have time. I want to look at some of the tweets that the AI agent is putting out on Outwired. And I want to see if there's some good commentary we can talk about from there. We'll just kind of scroll through the feed and see if it sparks some interesting discussion. Because the AI is completely writing that. Now, I understand that I set it up, we steered it, we talked to Scott, we went in a direction with it, right? So it's what the content we want is, but we don't know what it's going to say every day. So it's kind of interesting to follow. I can't tell you how many times, I don't know how many of these you read, Scott. I can't tell me how many times I read an Outwired thing and oh, that's interesting to think about that way. So anyway. So that, and then on LinkedIn, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm Brian Searle. There is an Insider Perks intelligence brief that I started doing every day-ish, not including weekends, although I did do it this weekend, where I'm curating some different stories. And I don't think I put one out today. I just didn't have enough time on Wednesdays. But that talk about some of the latest news in AI and how they're going to impact it. So I thought we'd pull from some of that stuff and see if you're interested in some of that, Scott, and if we can make a good conversation about it. So AI, this, and I'm just going to read excerpts from my own intelligence brief. If you're interested, this is a LinkedIn newsletter. You can go to my profile. You can subscribe. It will alert you when I put one of these out. I think they also send an email to a certain segment of people too. So this is OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, just rolled out a subscription tier called ChatGPT Go for just $8 a month. For less than the price of a couple fancy coffees, you now have access to one of the most powerful AI tools on the planet. What does this mean for you? It means the excuse of not having the budget for high-tech solutions is officially dead. You can now use AI to write your marketing copy, answer customer questions, create social media content, and even help you with your business strategy. The playing field has been leveled. The only thing stopping you from using this technology to grow your business is you. And again, I think we hammered this home on the AI show earlier, right? The only thing stopping you is you. And Matt Whitermore was talking about, his journey a little bit through AI and how 2025 is his year of learning prompting. At the end of 2025, he started using Claude Skills, which is just a way to kind of level up Claude and give it like more of a permanent memory of how to do specific things in certain ways. But the most important thing here is like you've got, I don't know, I feel like I've been saying this like a broken record for 3 years now. Like you have to get in and play with the tools, because what's going to happen is you keep thinking and putting it off and trying to justify and saying like it's not coming and it's not moving as fast as you think. And then when you get in, you're going to be so overwhelmed with the amount of things that you have to do. It's going to take you so long to catch up. Like I learned prompting in 2020, not to the extent that I was able to learn it once ChatGPT came out, right? But I started to know the fundamentals of it, and we were talking to GPT-2 in 2020. And so as I progress, then I can learn more and more things. But this is a progression thing. It's not just you can just jump into AI and catch up to everybody. You have to do a journey like Matt did, where you have to discover prompting, and then you have to want to vibe code, as he said, and then stumble into skills as a result of vibe coding and be like, oh, I don't need to go to vibe coding yet. This is something that suits my needs here. And the only way to do that is practice. So there's no one stopping you but you and whatever excuses you have for not doing AI. Anyway. All right. So what do we got here? Disruptive power of the technology from a jobs perspective. Angie, the home services company, just laid off 350 employees, citing AI efficiencies. These weren't minimum wage jobs either. They were high-paying positions with salaries in the $200,000 range. Now, before you panic, let's be clear. I'm just reading from my newsletter. I'm not saying that robots are going to take over your campground, but what I'm saying is that you need to be smart about how you're using technology to automate tasks and improve efficiency. The repetitive manual jobs are the ones that are most at risk. So if you're still paying someone to answer the same 10 questions over and over again, or to manually input reservations into a spreadsheet, you're not just wasting money, you're falling behind the curve. The smart move is to embrace AI to handle the grunt work so you and your team can focus on what really matters, creating unforgettable experiences for your guests. And that's, again, what everything is, right? This is not about automating for the sake of automating. It's automating so you can actually take care of your guest better, whatever way that means, even if that means leaving them alone. So you can plan to leave them alone, right? Whatever that is. So that's some layoff news. We talked about that already. Not just about the guest experience. The Boring Company, Elon Musk's tunneling venture, just launched a tunnel vision challenge offering to build a free mile of tunnel for the best idea. This might seem like a publicity stunt, but the implications are huge. Faster, more efficient infrastructure means more people traveling, and that's good for all of us. Imagine a world where your guests can bypass traffic and get to your park in a fraction of the time it takes today. That's the world the Boring Company is trying to build, and it's a world we should all be excited about. We've talked about that before with flying cars, right? So just the ability to, no, it's okay. So that's the, I was telling Jessica not to share the screen. So it's just the ability for you to like get more of those people out of the city into your park. It's just one tunnel from the Boring Company, right? But, and who knows where it will go or what it will do. But just thinking about these things is the key to that. Google Gemini 3 Pro can now perform tasks at the level of a 6-year-old human. This might not sound impressive, but it's a huge leap forward. It means that AI is getting better and better at understanding and interpreting the world around us. For the outdoor hospitality industry, this has massive implications. Imagine using AI-powered cameras to monitor your park for security threats, or to recognize your VIP guests and provide them with a personalized welcome. You could even use it to analyze guest behavior and optimize the layout of your park. The possibilities are endless. So that was that's just a couple things from January 24th that I wrote. What do you think of that format? Scott, is that a good way to digest some of this stuff?
Absolutely. It's tight enough that it's really easy to, you can read in just a couple minutes, and the content is interesting and relevant. I mean, that's what people want. So
your next guest might arrive in a robotaxi. Are we continuing with news? That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Your next guest will arrive in a robotaxi. Still think your biggest transportation issue is the size of RVs? Think again. Waymo, the self-driving car company from Google's parent Alphabet, just launched its fully autonomous ride-hailing service in Miami. Its 6th commercial market. So we've talked about this before. It's just another market expansion for Waymo, but they're test piloting it in 5 or 6 extra cities. Robo-taxis from Tesla are coming quickly behind this. Ford has said they want to have an autonomous car on the market by 2028 that will be under $30,000, that will be full level 5 self-driving. Ford, right? NVIDIA, I think we touched on this before. NVIDIA released an open source thing at CES that car manufacturers can use. Actually, I don't know that it's open source. I don't know that. But they released a framework for self-driving cars that think. I still remember 2020, I think it was February, at the Carvick conference in the Carolinas, right before like all the shit hit the fan and we all shut down, right, for COVID in March. I had a conversation with Joe Dumeg from At My Community. Mm-hmm. I said, in 10 years, it will be really weird to not go to a car dealership and not buy a self-driving car. I think I'm going to hit that target. What do you guys think? What do you think, Scott? I have 4 years left.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it seems to be picking up momentum. I would agree. I go out to Phoenix quite a bit, and every time I go there, it's like though Phoenix was a test market for Waymo, and again, my son uses Waymo a decent amount. It is kind of cool. It is actually really cool to just call one up on the app and it drives you. It's a little weird the first time you do it, but it actually is really cool.
Yeah. The definition of trying before you buy has changed forever. Remember when a good photo gallery was enough to entice a guest? Those days are over. A company called Odyssey just released Odyssey 2 Pro, a real-time world model. So world models, to be clear, can generate the entire world for you in real time. So they can let you like walk through a video game, for example, right? Or walk through a video frame or whatever else, right? And remember what you did. So if you like, let's say one of the easy examples is Google has a model called, I think, Genie 2 or Genie 3. I think Genie 3 is the latest one. And we may have played a video on it before here, right? But you can kind of walk through with keyboard and mouse, walk through the scene. You can turn, you can grab a bucket of paint, you can throw it at the wall, you can turn away and then walk away and come back and the paint's still on the wall, right? So this kind of stuff is going to impact video games, movie making, entertainment for a long time. But a real-time world model that can generate interactive, explorable simulations of real-world environments. Think of it as Google Street View on steroids, but for any place, real or imagined. They're calling it the GPT-2 moment for world models. GPT-2, remember, was 2020. So they're not saying it's this major, like, oh, you got to go look now. They're saying, right? But it's coming very, very fast, which in plain English means that the ability to create virtual replicas of your property, campground owners, is about to become as easy as writing an email. Imagine a potential guest being able to virtually walk through your glamping tents, explore your hiking trails, or even experience the ambience of your communal fire pit, all from their couch. This technology will allow guests to experience your park before they even book, and they will come to expect it. Are you prepared to offer this level of virtual transparency? I cannot even begin to tell you how deeply sorry I feel for the virtual tour companies out there right now. You guys have a few more years. Fuck, maybe you got 15 years in the campground industry, but it's literally like you're going to be able to walk through with your Meta Ray-Ban sunglasses or your phone, and it's going to build you an entire world model that is going to be way, way more interactive than this 360 tour that you're getting now. Way more interactive, right? And eventually it's going to become like a personalized thing too, right? Like you're literally like, imagine, okay, let me think of an example off the top of my head. All right, so let's say world model exists. Let's say there's an app that comes out of your phone, or you have these Meta Ray-Ban glasses or whatever, and it just tells you like, okay, we're going to create a world model of your park today. And this is probably in less than 2 or 3 years away, right? Not tomorrow, but like really close. Walk down this aisle, turn left, turn right, look up, look down. Okay, go into the cabin, open the door, spin around, go in the bathroom. Let me look at that up and down. And then it will just build a world model of your entire thing. Now, imagine somebody sitting at home then this is the next step after this, right? So we're talking about like 4 or 5 years away, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're still not talking about that far away. So then you got somebody who's sitting at home and their husband is a 6'5" basketball player. They're like, was it going to be fucking comfortable? Like, are my feet going to hang off the bed in that cabin? And you can literally go into the world model and say, put me in that bed. And the AI will know how tall you are and will put you as a picture of you or a video of you representation in the bed. You'll be like, fuck no, my feet are fine. And you'll be like, okay, I'll book that stay. Like, this is what's coming, guys. Right? Or they won't even look at that. The AI will just browse navigate the world model itself and be like, it knows that that's one of the things it just has to check. Whether your husband fits in the bed. Like, and if you're at the point where, again, you're not providing that information on your website, not specific to the husband, to be clear, but the information on your website, and really specific to the husband. I mean, I guess the easy workaround today is like, how long are the beds, right? Like queen is easy to see the dimensions of, but it's still helpful to put those dimensions on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're putting it on your website, or your staff doesn't have that available on the phone call, or your world model doesn't have that, or like if you're not making that information available to the AI, which most people aren't, because most of their information on site types and cabins is locked behind a booking engine that the AI cannot access. Massive, massive problem for the industry. Then you're in trouble. The AI is going to pick somewhere else for that husband because it doesn't want to guess. Unless they really, really, really need to go to Austin, Texas, and it's looked at every single property and it cannot find a bed that fits, or one that it just is educated guessing on, then right? Then you're going to get skipped by. And again, that's not a full leg that's coming off, but that's a little bit of a leg that makes the stool uneven, right?
Right.
So your competitors are adopting AI whether you are or not. The numbers don't lie. A recent report shows that 40% of executives are now using AI in their daily work, saving them upwards of 8 hours a week. The number of companies with AI in production at scale has jumped from 5% to nearly 40% in just 2 years. This isn't a trend for big tech companies. It's a fundamental shift on how business is done. For the outdoor hospitality industry, this means that your competitors are using AI to automate their marketing, personalize their guest communications, optimize their pricing, and streamline their operations. They are doing more with less, and they're doing it faster and more effectively than ever before. Are you still manually answering the same questions over and over? Are you still struggling to keep up with social media? Are you still guessing at the right time to adjust your rates? If you're not actively looking for ways to integrate AI into your business, you are not just missing out on an opportunity. You are willingly giving your competitors a massive advantage. What do you think of that, Scott?
Yeah. No, it's it's kind of like what we talk about every week on here is that you have to stay up on this stuff unless you're one of those, like I mentioned earlier, that have things locked in, which most people aren't. Then this is the kind of stuff you absolutely need to stay on top of, incorporate as much as you can. I mean, the whole idea of, by the way, I like these idea of the interactive tours and stuff like that. The beds, whether it's bed size. I was even thinking of having like your accommodation at the site you're looking at or something like that.
Well, you will, because the AI will take it to you, right? Like, this will literally be the cabin you stay in.
That to me is like being able to do that is it seals the deal. I mean, it takes away those unknowns that people get nervous about what to expect when they arrive. So it's I think it's huge. I think that kind of stuff is huge, actually.
All right, another one on labor shortage for real quick. It says new graduate job postings have collapsed, which we have talked about briefly on here. While at the same time, executive adoption of AI is soaring. This isn't a coincidence. The nature of work is changing, and the jobs that are being eliminated are the ones that can be automated. For an industry that is already struggling with a chronic labor shortage that is both a challenge and an opportunity. The challenge is that the pool of available human labor is shrinking. The opportunity is that AI and automation can fill the gap. From automated check-ins and smart property management to AI-powered customer service and robotic maintenance, the tools are now available to run your park more efficiently with fewer staff. The question is no longer if you should automate, but how and how quickly. Are you still relying on a paper-based system for check-ins? Are you still paying someone to manually update your availability on different booking platforms? The businesses that thrive in this new environment will be the ones that embrace technology to augment their human workforce, not the ones that fruitlessly try to hire their way out of a systemic shift. The cost of business is about to get a jolt. The AI revolution is built on data, and data centers are incredibly power hungry. China's electricity consumption to data centers jumped 17% last year, and globally, demand is expected to increase by 165% by 2030. This has a direct impact on your bottom line. The cost of cloud-based services you rely on for your booking engine, your property management system, and your marketing tools is going to go up. The cost of electricity to power your own operations is going to go up. Energy efficiency is no longer a feel-good marketing buzzword. It's a critical component of your financial strategy. Are you tracking your energy consumption? Have you invested in energy-efficient lighting and appliances? Have you explored solar or other renewable energy sources? The parks that will succeed in the future will be the ones that are not only technologically advanced, but also operationally resilient and sustainable. The scale of change is almost unimaginable. Elon Musk recently predicted that the world's first $100 trillion company will emerge within the next decade. Let that sink in. That's a company worth more than the entire GDP of most countries. This isn't just about one company getting incredibly rich. It's about the massive economic and societal transformation that will be created by the technologies that company is building. The pace of change is so rapid that it's difficult to even comprehend. But one thing is certain, the outdoor hospitality industry will not be immune. The way people travel, the way they work, the way they live their lives will all be fundamentally altered. Are you thinking about how these macro trends will impact your business? Are you building a business that it's agile and adaptable enough to thrive in a world of constant change? Or are you hoping that things will just go back to the way they were? I think there's people on both sides of that aisle, right? But I don't think anybody really believes, despite hoping, that they're going to go back to the way they are.
No,
right?
No.
We talked about your small towns in Maine that are the same way, right?
Yep.
About data centers, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that fear that's out there. The resistance to change is real, and it's.
All right. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
We'll save this story for the last one because I'm going to talk about this for a minute. Although we're running out of time. Insurance companies are betting on AI, and you should too. This is not the one we're saving. I skipped that one. Still think of self-driving cars are a decade away? The insurance industry disagrees. U.S. insurer Lemonade just announced they're offering a 50% discount on per-mile insurance rates for Tesla drivers when full self-driving is engaged. Why? Because the data shows that full self-driving driven miles are twice as safe as those driven by humans. This is a massive signal. When insurance companies, the most risk-averse businesses on the planet, start offering discounts on autonomous technology, you know it's real. What does this mean for you? If you're running a shuttle service or have a fleet of vehicles for your park, the cost of transportation is about to change dramatically. Autonomous vehicles will not only reduce your insurance premiums, but they'll also increase efficiency and safety. This is a real-world example of how AI is already impacting the bottom line of businesses, and it's a trend that is only going to accelerate. What if you could produce your own fuel on site using just air, water, and renewable electricity, Scott?
Yeah.
A New York startup called Aircella has built a machine the size of a refrigerator that does exactly that. It captures CO2 and water vapor from the air, uses electrolysis to create hydrogen, and then combines it with the CO2 to produce methanol, which is then converted into gasoline. 1 gallon per day per machine. This is a game changer for any business, but especially for those in remote locations. Imagine being able to produce your own fuel for your vehicles, your equipment, and even your generators. No more worrying about fuel deliveries or fluctuating prices. This is energy independence, and it's another example of how technology is decentralizing power and putting it back in the hands of individuals and small businesses. The initial investment might be high, but the long-term savings and operational resilience are undeniable. And it'll be 2 gallons next year, and it'll be 4 gallons the year after that, and it'll be 8 gallons the year after that, right?
Right. It's just that it's a new technology. But once that happens, that energy independence, as we've talked about as a country for a long, long time, but this is literally independence at the individual level is, a huge, huge game changer. Being able to do stuff like that, that to me is that kind of technology was. That to me is kind of hard to imagine the impact something like that would have.
Yeah. Imagine all the long-term parks geared toward pipeline workers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You better start targeting refrigerator workers. AI is a better investor than you are. If you're still managing your own investments, you might want to sit down for this one. A recent experiment by Raleigh's AI gave 8 different AI models $100,000 each to trade freely in the stock market. The result, Claude Sonnet 4.5, an AI model from Anthropic, is beating all of its competitors and the S&P 500. It returned 8.7% since November, compared to the S&P 500's 1.9%. This isn't just about picking stocks, it's about economic rationality. AI models are now being benchmarked on their ability to make sound economic decisions, and they're proving to be more rational and more successful than their human counterparts. What does this mean for your business? It means that the same AI that can beat the stock market can also be used to optimize your pricing, manage your inventory, and make better financial decisions for your park. The era of gut feelings and guesswork is over. The era of data-driven, AI-powered decision-making is here. Your spreadsheet is obsolete. Speaking of data, how much time do you spend in Excel or Google Sheets? If you're like most business owners, it's a lot. Well, that's about to change. Claude, the same AI that's beating the stock market, is now available directly in Excel. This isn't just about a few new formulas. This is about having a world-class data analyst at your fingertips, 24/7. Imagine being able to ask your spreadsheet in plain English to analyze your booking data, identify your most profitable customers, and even forecast your revenue for the next quarter. This is the power of AI, and it's going to revolutionize the way you manage your business. The days of manually crunching numbers are over. The future is about asking the right questions and letting AI find the answers. What do you think about that, Scott?
Yeah, as an analyst, it's it would really benefit campground owners to be able to do that, to have an AI with the right prompts, looking at their internal data, their guest profiles. It would truly empower them to do a lot of work on their own, and then hire me to go out and do the other stuff.
Well, for sure, of course.
No,
nothing replaces that expertise.
Well, and I'm always telling people, anyone who will listen, to do this kind of stuff. Do it on your own. Look at your own data. But this tool ramps it up from being I have a spreadsheet and I'm going to try to do all this stuff on my own, to having a tool that's going to do high level analysis on your data set for you. And then if you still need the help, give me a call. But no, I'm only partially kidding there. But by the same token, you have at your fingertips now the ability to really look at your internal data without spending hours on formatting and doing going through it manually. The AI will do it in a matter of seconds for you. And again, it's learning the prompts. People just need to make sure they learn the right prompts. But once they do, it at the individual campground level, it to me is just a fantastic tool.
Yep, 100% agree. The very interface of how we interact with technology is being rewritten. Anthropic, again, a major AI player, just rolled out something called MCP apps. Forget typing a question into a chat box and getting a block of text back. Imagine asking your management software for a sales report, and instead of a spreadsheet, an interactive dashboard appears right in the chat. You could filter by date, drill down into specific site types, and export a custom report without ever leaving the conversation. Think about a guest-facing chatbot that doesn't just answer questions, but pulls up an interactive map of your property, allowing them to click on a site to see a 360-degree view and book it right there. That's already available with Simon Neal from Camp Map, by the way, campmap.com. He's the sponsor of our show today, even though he didn't pay me any money. You could filter out by date. So think about guest-facing chatbot that does that. This is what MCP apps enable. It's about turning our conversations with AI into dynamic, visual, and interactive experiences. For the outdoor hospitality industry, this means the potential for more intuitive booking systems, more powerful internal management tools, and a guest experience that is seamless and personalized in a way we've only dreamed of. The days of clunky multi-step processes are numbered. The future is a conversation. And I'm on the fence with those kind of apps, by the way, too. I don't think that's the long-term answer. I think the long-term answer is just talking, which I'll show you in a second. Second, this is a big one for our industry. NVIDIA has open sourced Earth 2, a suite of AI weather models that are nothing short of revolutionary. We are in the business of the outdoors, and the weather dictates everything. For too long, we've been at the mercy of forecasts that are often too broad and not granular enough to be truly actionable. Earth 2 changes that. We're talking about kilometer resolution, 15-day forecasts. We're talking about the ability to predict not just that it will rain, but how a specific storm system will develop and move through your exact location within a 0 to 6 hour window. Imagine getting an alert that a severe thunderstorm will hit the north side of your property in 45 minutes, giving you enough time to warn guests, secure equipment, and ensure everyone's safety. This isn't just about convenience, it's about risk management, operational efficiency, and enhancing the guest experience. You can plan staffing for a hot weekend with more certainty, you can schedule outdoor activities with more confidence, and you can communicate with your guests with an unprecedented level of accuracy. The technology is here right now. It's open, and it's going to become an indispensable tool for any serious outdoor hospitality operator. What do you think of that, Scott?
That can you repeat that last bit for me, please?
Scott wasn't paying attention.
I wasn't, because someone was texting me about something that a work thing. Sorry.
Totally fine. NVIDIA open source Earth 2. It's
weather. Oh, the weather stuff. Yeah. Oh, I did hear more than.
Okay.
Just
that's fine. Don't worry about it.
No, the weather stuff. I mean, in all of our research, what we see is that this is one of those factors that impacts, especially those the people who wait to book. That it truly impacts whether or not they go. In places with severe weather stuff, here in Maine, we could have a 3-day like torrential downpours for an entire weekend that people don't want to travel for, but also the idea that once they're there and to know that stuff, but be able to plan far enough ahead and for that kind of stuff, to be able to respond, to like say a good stretch of weather and reach out to people and say, hey, we're having a great stretch of weather here. We're going to offer 20% off for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday stays, and you know what I mean. It's like it just opens things up that to be more reliable.
Well, and this is a 15-day forecast that's down to the kilometer, right?
Right, and it's that localized stuff. We talk about it here where I live quite a bit because we are just on the other side of the White Mountains of New Hampshire, and our little area. There are people who will show up here, like our plow truck driver, who's like, "Why is it you guys have more snow than anyone else?" And it's true. It's like we are in this little pocket where we get a ton of snow. So, and that happens a lot in areas like where you live in Alberta. It's the same thing. The mountains create pockets, and they create locally different weather patterns, and that's what people need to know. I mean, again, they're going to plan their vacations around it, and you as a park owner are going to want to know that stuff. Again, 15 days out is like, if you could plan 15 days out, I think everybody would take that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's already here. It's open source. Like, it's free. I'm actually going to go play with it. I think I should go play with it. Actually, you know what? We'll do this. Let's try this. And this will lead into another thing we can talk about in a second. All right, so I'm just going to open Slack on my phone, right? It's just Slack. Slack app, right? To say, hey, can you put into the queue to go research NVIDIA's new weather forecasting tool that's open source? It says it can do hyperlocal forecasts. It's called Earth 2, and it does 15-day forecasts down to kilometer resolution. I want to build a product with it, so go figure out how I can do that. All right, so you can't see this, but this is Perky, my AI, responding. Perky lives on my Mac Mini computer that I just bought 3 days ago that's sitting behind the monitor over here. And it runs the entire computer. Like, it can open browsers, it can research, it can edit in Excel, it can leave me notes, it can do multi-step processes, and it can code and build applications on it. So, and it stores all its memory locally on the Mac Mini so that it's permanent knowledge. So not just memory of like, I'm Scott Barr or Brian Searle and I work at Insider Perks for Karen Consulting, right? Like, it remembers every conversation we've ever had permanently. All chats. So it's really interesting what I'm doing with it. I've only had it for 2 days, but I can tell it to do that. And then I've built like a queue system on the computer with things that I want it to learn. That's 2 of these things simultaneously in a research mode, right? And queues up different sub agents to do all that stuff. And so it's still responding. It's thinking about it, right? But it will put that into a queue, and then it'll go research all that. It'll put it into a plan. It'll organize it into a library. And then I can literally just tell it to go build products with it. I probably need to go get an API key from it or whatever, right? But from the open source thing. But yeah, the whole thing's running 24/7 on my computer. So I can give it like tasks and it'll just work overnight for me and whatever it is. So like the era of where AI is going from a chatbot, like I'm going to train this thing on everything it needs to know, on every API I use, on every process for the business, on everything that it needs to know. And then 24/7 it will be able to work. And then I can take it, what I'm building, and I can clone it and put it on 200 other VPS computers. And I can have 200 employees, 400 employees, 1,000 employees, and I don't have to train it again. So that's what I was doing this week.
That sounds like your workforce model is changing quite a bit, huh?
Yeah, we're not going to get rid of people. We're just going to change what people are doing. Right? So like, assuming you're willing, right? Again, and I think we've had this conversation for a long time with our team. Almost all of our team is willing to level up and skill up, right? I will put the time in and I will train them. If you're willing to do that, then you stay, because I will continue to teach you new things that you need to know, right?
Right.
If you're not willing to learn, which, let's be honest, there's a big chunk of the workforce that is not willing to learn, you're kind of fucked.
And that's where things are headed. I mean, you have to, adapt, adjust. Is it still working on the weather app?
I don't know if it answered here. Sometimes it times out on Slack. There's a setting I have to fix, but it's here. Hold on. Let me ask it. Did you time out or did you have a response? Question mark. Like, it won't, it's just the response. Like, it's a Slack issue. It's not an agent issue. I have to like turn off the fact that it can thread things together or something weird like that. But anyway, like, it won't actually, like, it'll respond and it'll do it. Oh, it says I didn't time out. I started the work and I do have a response. Here's where I'm at right now. I created a plan plus start the research here, and then it gave me the path and it put it in a folder for a date and a plan. Key reality check already confirmed from Earth to Studio Doc source, 15-day maps to Atlas, but it's 25 degrees global, which is 25 to 28 kilometers. Kilometer resolution maps to storm scope, but it's 0 to 6 hours, 3 to 6 kilometer variance, not 15 days. I think that's the forecast, is 0 to 6 hours, right? Alerts. So 15-day at kilometer is almost certainly a multi-stage pipeline, medium range, global downscaling, whatever. Next step I'm doing now, pull the actual Hugging Face model cards licenses for the Atlas storm scope packages, Earth to Studio references, and then draft the how to build a product architecture and cost infrastructure needs. If you want me to optimize the product plan, what's the first wedge? Energy, AG, insurance, or consumer hyperlocal? Weather forecasts for campgrounds. Anyway, so I just chat with that thing all day while I'm on the couch, and it'll do whatever work I want.
Mow the lawn.
Not yet, but like it'll be able to be a brain. Like it'll be able to eventually. I'll be able to teach it what my lawn is, and then it'll be able to communicate with the robots.
Right. Yep.
That's so. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's see. The raw power of AI is about to go vertical. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, is promising a new model that is 100 times more capable, faster, and cheaper than what we have today. Does that sound scary? 100 times more capable, faster, and cheaper. Let that sink in. 100 times. They're talking about compressing 25 years of scientific progress into the next 5 years. What does this mean for you? It means the AI tools that are just starting to feel useful today will look like toys in a few years. The AI that can help you write a marketing email today will be able to run your entire marketing department tomorrow. The AI that can answer a few guest questions will be able to manage your entire guest relations. The cost of this intelligence is plummeting while its capabilities are exploding. This isn't a linear progression, it's an exponential one. And it's not just OpenAI. Companies like Alibaba are releasing models like Qwen 3 Max Thinking that are already rivaling the best in the world. The competition is fierce, which is good for us. It means more options, lower prices, and a constant stream of innovation. Are you prepared for a world where your competitors can leverage AI that is 100 times more powerful than what you're using today? If you're using anything?
I think it's hard for even people who are using AI on a regular basis to envision that. What will that look like?
Do you know how fucking excited? Do you know how fucking excited I am about this thing? This is what everybody in AI has been waiting for since we heard about ChatGPT. But really, since AI first came across our radar, is an AI that will literally do anything that you want on a computer. I've given it permission. My Mac doesn't sleep. It stays 24/7. I've had it code keep alive questions or commands so it doesn't sleep, and it continue long-running processes, and it monitors and checks and has workers and QA people and project managers that it reports to and all that. I've done all this, by the way, since Tuesday at 12 o'clock my time. It took me about 4 hours to set the whole thing up. It's pretty technologically hard, right? Still. But then it's like raising a baby. Then you say, like, what can you do for me? Oh, you can do this already out of the box, but like, here's what I want you to do. Train this way, organize this way, do this. Can it be better? Tell me your suggestions. Okay, do that one, don't do that one. Right? But the knowledge is going to pay off for the ability for me to clone it later on, to do all that stuff. But this is what everybody's been waiting for. Its answer, by the way, was perfect. Campgrounds is a great wedge because hyperlocal actually matters. Terrain, elevation, wind exposure, pop-up storms, and people will pay for confidence plus alerts, not just a generic hourly graph. Here's the product direction I'd recommend building on top of for Earth 2. Campground specific forecast plus safety alerts optimized for should I go, should I leave, what gear do I need? Per campground, deliver a 15-day daily high-low, precipitation chance amount, wind comfort scenario, 72-hour hourly precipitation wind gusts and lightning risk message, and 0 to 6 hour danger mode, storm nowcasting, if we can license use storm scope cleanly. Otherwise, use radar NWS alert feeds instantly. Alerts high wind, thunderstorm nearby, freeze risk, heavy rain, and poor road access. How Earth 2 fits. Medium range, 1 to 15 days. Use this as the baseline. Hyperlocal. Okay, we're not going to read the whole thing. True kilometer scale short range. Pull the Hugging Face model cards. Okay, here's the immediate next steps I'm doing. Pulling the Hugging Face model cards and licenses for the exact packages. This is the main gating item for can we sell this. Draft the MVP architecture for a campground product with what we can ship. Outline differentiation, UX, quick project. If you want a quick product clarification that changes scope a lot, are you imagining a B2C app campers or B2B? B2B app that pushes safety alerts to guests, but also they could use on their website to provide hyperlocal forecasts. Seems like a good plan, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it will just keep going with me like that, and then I can just talk about it, and I'm getting work done. Like, I asked it yesterday, so I worked on it Tuesday, got it up and running about 1 o'clock my time. I said 12, but like about 1 o'clock is when I started actually doing stuff with it. Worked on it till, like, I was working on it on the couch talking to it, right? But really, like, worked on it for about 7 hours-ish. And then today I worked on it like for about an hour in the morning, but I've been doing podcasts all day and other stuff, right? But I've still been talking to it, and it still has a queue of things that it's learning, right, in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But when I asked it last night, I think at 9:30 on Slack, I said, how many hours of work do you think it would have actually taken to accomplish what we just did today together for a human developer? It was like about 10 days, 80 hours. So, and this is the worst it's ever going to be. I don't know how not everybody's excited about this. And we're going to set them up for people. Scott, you want one?
I might as well, right?
Okay.
I mean,
go
I need the
buy a Mac Mini. We'll set up a call and I'll make one for you.
all right, that sounds
You'll
great.
sign an NDA so you don't know how to, like, you'll know how to make it. But so you can't disclose how it is to other people, how we do it, because that's like the only way you're getting it for free.
Yeah. That's
And you'll have to pay the costs. Like, it costs, like, not my costs. You'll have to pay the costs for the model providers, right? Because you got to pay for API keys and all that kind of stuff. So you have to decide how much you want to use it and what you want to use it and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I'll build you one.
I need the help.
You need to go buy a Mac Mini.
Right.
The one that I bought was a $1,399 model. It's got 24 gigs of RAM. It's an M4 Pro. It's on their website. It's in almost every Apple store. And the reason I bought that was just so it would have enough headroom with memory and stuff like that. But you don't need the super most expensive one. And that's it. And then you obviously need a monitor to hook it to. But if you've got a monitor with multiple imports, you just plug it in there and you can switch between the imports, because you're never going to need the screen once you set it up. Almost ever. And you're never going to need a keyboard and mouse. But like, I bought an Apple keyboard and mouse just because I wanted it to connect real quick.
Sure.
You know? But you won't need all that stuff. Dead serious. Like, you can have it. You just got to go buy your stuff. B2B operations, guest safety alerts, and an embed widget for hyperlocal forecasts on their site. Strong, buildable shape. Here's the concrete direction I'd take. Do this. I'm not going to give all my product secrets away. Website embed widget. We will probably include this in CamVantage. The new $249 a month plan. One more benefit to it. If I actually build this, we'll see. What I did queued, I updated the plan with a confirmed B2B campground direction here. Next is I'll do this. It determines whether commercial use is clean. You can do that. Do you want one-click scoping detail? Do you want the guest alerts to be SMS first or push notification? SMS first. Don't require an app to install. Install. Still love Google Voice Text. It said assault. All right, what else we got? And then we got to wrap up the show here. We got only a couple minutes. I think that's the very hardware that powers this revolution is being reinvented. A startup called Neurofos, backed by none other than Bill Gates, is developing an optical processing unit that uses light instead of electrons. The numbers are staggering. 470 petaflops of compute, which is about 10 times what NVIDIA's latest and greatest chips can do, all while using roughly the same amount of power. This is a fundamental shift in how we build the engines of AI. Why should you care about the technical details? Because it's this kind of innovation that will prevent the AI boom from hitting a wall. It's what will keep the progress accelerating. It's what will ensure that the incredible tools we're seeing today continue to get better and more accessible. The global demand for AI is creating a massive need for data centers, so much so that Saudi Arabia is pivoting its Nome mega project, once a futuristic city, into a massive hub for data centers. They see compute as the new oil. When you see that kind of investment, you know a seismic shift is underway. The infrastructure of the future is being built right now, and it's being built for AI. And that's all I got.
Pretty cool. No, good stuff. Good stuff.
So, again, that was just what happened in the last 6 days or so, guys. That's all. It's not moving fast at all. Please feel free to sit there and not listen to us. And it'll be fine. Sure, it will be. Mm-hmm. Confirmation bias.
We don't like confirmation bias. We are explorers. We explore.
Anyway, that's all. Do you have any final thoughts, Scott?
No. I think we. There's a lot to. We're going to still have a lot to cover in the coming weeks. I think the story of 2025 has yet to be told. I feel like there's going to be a lot more information coming out in the next few weeks. But let's say that by the end of
2025, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because it's still, we're still in that you know, post hoc phase of the year, looking at what happened. A lot of people are still trying to figure out what's going to happen this year. There's, you know, you see projections all over the place. I honestly haven't done any hard projections yet for this year. I guess I should, since a month of it is almost gone.
Well, we kind of have, like, we have a report sitting there that we need to get out.
We do. We do.
Like, not as, like, I know you're going to do different predictions that are much more granular and detailed than what that report is, but I mean, that's a different kind of prediction, but
yeah, I have some thoughts. The one thing I would say at the end here is that you know, sometimes you have to really pay attention. You know, we talk about how there are times when we'll report numbers, you know, from surveys, and we're like, you know, people always ask, is that really going to happen? And our response is, parts of it may be, maybe not the magnitude that we're saying, but it, in general, we say, you know, obviously things can intervene, different things can happen. If we really look at the research we did in 2025, especially toward the end of the year, we're starting to see that a lot of it was able to predict where we're at now and potentially where we're heading, and what we need to do in the coming months as an industry. So you know, pay attention. I think people just need to pay attention to what's going on, what the numbers are, what they say. Like I said, some of these things have come to fruition that we predicted, and I'll be able to talk a lot more about that in the coming weeks.
cool. Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate it for another episode of Outwired. Looking forward to some of the data that we have coming out and continue our MC Hospitality highlights, Outwired, all the kind of good stuff we have going on. And looking forward to seeing the KO report when it comes out too. So until then, I'll talk to you soon, but we'll see you next week. Another episode of Outwired. Peace, guys.
Take care. Bye.